So, let's get where you can see me. My name is Evan Strong, and I am the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany, a company that is so much more than just a clothing company. And we here focus on how we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, Jesus Christ. Skeletal system wise, right? We recognize our very slight differences if people have had a surgery, a deformity, an injury, amputation, anything within your own situation that sets you apart a little bit. But we are universally designed, okay? So, my prerequisites from the very start of this company have always been the same. Actually, since before I founded the company, I was making videos, and the prerequisites were to lace and tie your shoes with the technique found where you find anything in the Image Clothing Company related. And that includes just tying your shoes evenly, the outside over toward the inside on both feet, and then removing the tags from the tongues of your shoes up through the entirety of everything that you wear. That's been the prerequisites since the very beginning, to just allow your body to have a chance to function. I make very bold claims that are true, undisputed, right? You just have to know why and how, that we should not have to stretch unless something very major happens, right? We shouldn't have to work out or exercise to get up to a certain capability level, because our bodies are designed within our own situations to just work, right? And I show all this. I don't want to use the word prove, but I prove all this to be true. It's not claims of mine. It's not claims of In The Image Clothing Company as a company and a community. These are true things that we just don't know until we know, okay? And I've been given the knowledge of these things. So, what I'm going to talk about, I've got these lovely boots here that I bought at the thrift store. You might have seen these in other videos if you've seen other videos from In The Image Clothing Company. But these are cool. I like them. They're not quite the best for the foot, like, you know, not the most ideal. The toe box is a little bit narrow. The sole is pretty stiff. I talk about how Xero shoes, Xero, I picked a location that's got quite a bit of cars, but Xero shoes, right? The brand is my favorite brand of barefoot shoes, and I've discussed how barefoot shoes are the best on the body. Not my opinion, but right, that's the whole intent behind the designs of barefoot shoes, is to allow the foot to work and operate and have a really thin, flexible sole, because our bodies are natural when there's nothing on them, right? And that's what we do here at In The Image Clothing Company, is try to get our bodies back to natural. And not even really try, we allow it to happen within our own situations. But I do like these boots, and also I live in Utah, and we get winter. United States of America, the state of Utah, we get cold winters, we get a lot of snow. So these are a lot more protective than, well, by protective I mean kind of insulated and stuff for the cold than the barefoot shoes that I currently own. You know, certain shoes kind of just have their times and places. But what I'm going to discuss here, these shoes are laced correct, right, with my technique, which is, well, In The Image Clothing Company's technique. And that's a must. That's an absolute prerequisite. But what I'm going to talk about is these tongue tabs. This video is a little bit sporadic, and I love it actually, but there's cars going by. That guy just hit a curb, it sounded like. There's a baseball game going on. There's birds over here. But I love this, because also it's kind of an unconventional video in the sense of, like, you don't really think about a tongue tab within a shoe, right? But yes, here's the thing, here is my left shoe, okay? They're both laced correct, except I just altered this one a little bit, as you kind of saw me do, to put that tongue tab in. Because this is what I would say. If you're gonna use, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about with a tongue tab, it's this little piece of material right here that holds the tongue, like you put the laces through it and it holds the tongue centered. That's what I'm going to get into. Is we don't want the tongue of our shoe centered, because I have shown many times how the foot works naturally, universal human design. We don't get to decide, and it's not really much, if at all, any different from human to human, because we have the same muscles and bones and ligaments and tendons within the foot. It grips an arch like this. We need nails on the toes for that to happen, internal rotation, outsides of the feet, traveling up the body, things I've gone into. I did a video called the natural walking gait cycle, showed how that is in the grass barefooted. Talked a lot about the natural ankle and foot, and health, traveling up the entirety of the legs. And the feet are the foundation of our bodies, right? I've gone over it time and time again, but the point is, I'm going to tie this really quick. Actually, I put this lace through the wrong eyelet, but yeah, so the point with these tongue tabs, why it's a deal at all, is I put this one here in, as you just saw at the beginning of the video, and I only put it in the lace that's going to like slip it toward the outside, right? Like if it were to move, it would go like down this lace, if you will, toward the outside of the shoe. But I also brought my scissors, because I'm actually going to show what I do with tongue tabs and why, and how it's not just my preference, but really what it does. Okay, so when we're walking, right, talk about that internal rotation all the time, how it's so natural, but so commonly lacking in 2024. Today's the 28th of September, 2024. But you need to be able to tuck your pelvis posterior to open your legs into internal rotation, just naturally, right? Because then you're on the outsides of your feet, then you have a good gripped arch. Your shirt needs to fit correct, right? Your pants need to be up off of the hips, ideally slightly higher in the front than in the rear. Your shoulder seams on your shirt should sit behind your shoulders on the top and right at the edges, But when we walk, I've shown how the foot kind of does this, right? It kind of goes in and up like this each step, right? Just naturally, not like we're trying to do anything. But notice my right foot, how it's able to do that. Well, I cut out the tongue tab from this boot, okay? And this left one, the way that I put it in at the beginning of the video isn't even like on the actual cross of the laces to where it would be like perfectly centered. But if it were to be centered, I'd be walking like this, like straight, when really the foot wants to go like this each step, right? If you picture jumping, you're going to jump and go like off of your foot like this to spring. And if that tongue tab's keeping your foot straight, now you're going to try to jump like this when your body wants to go like this, right? Or walking, anything. But jumping's a good springing motion to see. It can't happen when there's a tongue tab in there. So the reason why I only put it toward the outside one like that at the beginning of the video is because if you don't want to be cutting anything on your shoes other than your tags, cut the tags out. You just have to, and I've gone over it, right? Your foot's trying to create a nice, healthy, natural arch. There's a synthetic tag on top of it, so it's trying to reject it and avoid it, but then it's trying to activate each step, and so it's like this in-between battle that no human eye nor he or she could ever win. I always talk about how we cannot tell our bodies what to do. It goes for me or him or her or everybody, because the body only works the way that it works. And that's why people feel the need to stretch and they get sore, because they're doing things that is essentially telling their body what to do. And that's the body's response to them, or me in the past when I did that, right? So what I'm going to do, this is what I would recommend doing, because it's what I personally do. if I get shoes that have tongue tabs, I cut them out. Okay? And again, it's not some kind of preference. It's the foot only works the way that the foot works. And I'll pick this stuff up. And it's not allowed to do what it would naturally do with that tongue tab there. Yeah, so I just cut it out. That little piece of, oh, yeah, so, right? Just chop it out of there without being too silly about it. I mean it, I really do. And I'll show you now how that's gonna allow my foot to be even closer to just natural, right? I mean, we still have a shoe on the foot, and that's something that wouldn't be there if there was nothing on the foot. But that's the whole point of my lacing and tying technique, which is in the Image Clothing Company's now, right? Lacing and tying technique, and why it has to be done within every shoe. It's not an opinion, but it just allows the shoe to fit on the foot like a glove does on the hand within the shoe's design capability. Right, I was mentioning how these shoes aren't the most ideal because the sole is stiff and the toe box is more narrow than the foot, you know, is at the toes, right? But I do like these boots for the reasons I said. So, yes, but shoelacing and tying technique just allows it to fit like to the best of its ability, like a glove, because it just makes it the shape of the foot. Okay, so here's the thing. When I put this on now, I'm pretty meticulous about how I tie my shoes, because again, your feet are your feet. They're the foundation of the entire body, and if they're being altered, then your entire body's being altered. I mean, your entire body, right? So now I'll leave that there. That's where the little tab is, so I can find it and pick it up again. But see, now there's nothing restricting this tongue, and what'll happen naturally is because there's that natural outward curve creating a good natural healthy gripped arch like this, now that tongue is allowed to go from where it would be being forced to be stuck straight with a tongue tab, which this is not how your leg works. Now it can slide out, and your leg can really do your foot, your ankle, and your leg traveling up into your hip, into your back, into your shoulders, into your everything, right? It can all do what it would do in a natural position, okay? Now, if you left that tongue tab material in there underneath, like the laces, right, but just didn't use it, as if it just, you know, I mean, you just lace the shoes without putting them through this material, what'll happen is that material will then be underneath those laces where that foot's trying to activate the arch. And so now between where the laces are and the top of your foot, right there's that material that's like kind of almost pressing your arch back down each step, because it's in between that space, right, causing an unnatural gap. So again, these aren't my opinions, this is just how the foot works. I mean, I can't really tell you to cut your own shoes, but I can tell you that it will benefit you universally across all humans. The foot only works the way the foot works. Okay, so now you can see when I walk, I mean, look, dorsiflexion's when your toe comes up, right? And ideally, we have a lot of dorsiflexion without compensation within the hips or the legs or the shoulders or the back. The pelvis shouldn't be trying to anteriorly rotate to try to like pretend that dorsiflexion's happening. We should just have it. It's natural for humans, right? Within our own situations. But then when you walk, you can walk very normally, and each stride you can then push off in the way that the leg works, the way that the foot works, right? Then I can sit in a complete deep low squat and my feet can roll out, because if that tongue tab was holding them like this, it's putting pressure on my knees in ways they shouldn't have pressure. It's twisting my pelvis, it's putting my shoulders into more external rotation. But if I can just open up into good internal rotation, because now that tongue tab is not there, allowing the tongue to roll outward and then the feet and legs following it, then I'm very just mobile, active, right? Even within these shoes, I'm not saying anything bad about the shoes, but they're not barefoot shoes, right? But yeah, so I mean, this is how the foot works, but a lot of people don't really know that, because if you are living inside of shoes that have things like tongue tabs most of your life, you'll be very out of touch with how your own foot would naturally work. Okay, so see, I mean, we should be on the outsides of our feet. That's very, very natural. And then if you're gonna sit cross-legged, now see that same outward position is allowed to then happen, which is really internal rotation of the legs. And I've gone into all this, right? I did a video called "There is a Lot to Internal Rotation," and I showed how this is actually internal rotation. At least the activation is happening with the internal rotators, even though your legs are going out. And I went into very great depth in that video, but yeah, see, now we've got this ability to just have this natural position. Actually, when I did a video titled "How Socks Affect Body Mechanics," I was in a position similar to this. Because I was doing this and showing, right, I always talk about martial artists and that internal rotation, and you need to be able to get your foot like in, right? It's just natural. That's how the body's designed universally to work. So then having that tongue tab material out of the way, so it's not pushing your foot back the way it doesn't work, will then allow you to really open the hips into internal rotation, right? And then you won't get sore, at least from this, if you don't have this doing the things that it's doing. It's not my opinion, but what it's actually doing to you, right? So yeah, I mean, I do not stretch. I do not. It's been probably 6+ months since I've done a single stretch, but I'm just showing, not a stretch here, but I'm just showing like the mobility. Like, we should just, within our own situations, we should naturally have when clothing is not altering our body's natural workings, right? So tongue tabs, I'd say to remove them. I personally remove them. I'm not telling you to do something I don't do. And again, it's not an opinion. In the Image Clothing Company doesn't care about opinions, and that needs to be heard correct, because I mean, we are not pushing our opinions either. We just share universal truth of what clothing does to the human body. So yes, check out In the Image Clothing Company. We have In the Image Clothing Company podcast, lots of free videos that I have personally made on just the body's natural workings by itself, but then also what clothing does to that. Yes, so stick around, join the community that is In the Image Clothing Company. And yeah, like I said, the places that I said that the clothing should actually sit, as far as like where the pants and the shirts seams and angles should be, when we have In the Image Clothing Company clothing available to purchase, which will be 100% natural materials always, just make sure that it fits you. If you do purchase any of our clothing ever, purchase it in your size, but those angles and areas that I mentioned the seams will sit will always go into every one of our designs at In the Image Clothing Company, just because the body works the way the body works, skeletal system wise. Okay, all right, thank you. Cut out your tongue tabs. I mean, you don't have to listen to me, but universal human design, that's what it does and is doing to your body if you do have tongue tabs within your shoes. Yes, okay, thank you. Like I said, I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. My name is Evan Strong. It's the 28th of September 2024. I don't stretch or work out or do anything to try to get my body to operate, other than allow the clothing that I wear to sit on my body the way my body would naturally work. Okay, so that's what we do here at In the Image Clothing Company. So check us out. It's InTheImageClothingCompany.com. As of today, the site is still under construction because I just founded this company, but depending on when you're seeing this, that's where you will be able to go to see those kind of things, meaning just all videos to do with In The Image Clothing Company or any kind of way to find them. And like I said, the podcast, In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We've had our first episode. It was just me, and it might be for a lot of them, but eventually we'll have some other people that we'll talk with and bounce things back and forth, ideas of what they've learned within clothing. And I mean, our team will be amazing. I'm not going to bring anybody onto the team unless they're really driven and focused, and I don't mean that to be, but yeah, I mean, the whole intent is just to allow the body to work as our God designed it, and just with the least amount of restriction that we can. Because clothing is doing a lot to our bodies that we're not intending on, we're not aware of, and I have gone into, personally myself, I've made over 85 videos, over 80 videos, I think it's 85-ish, about this kind of stuff, the natural workings of the human body, the universal human design, what clothing does to it, materials, sizing, all things, right? So I have a very, very, very deep understanding of the natural human body and how it works just by itself, but really the only way we need to get to do that is by stopping the restriction that's happening through clothing. Okay, so yes, yes, tongue tabs, take them out, because you'll see people and their arches are collapsed. A lot of that's to do with the lacing, but even if it's laced and tied correct, if you have tongue tabs in there, like I was showing, it'll cause your foot to just be straight. And your foot, ankle, leg, because of the way that an arch grips, has a natural outward bend upward. And that needs to be allowed to happen because it would naturally happen. So the tongue tabs just need to be removed. Again, it's not my opinion. That's how the body works. So we speak very bold truths here in the Image Clothing Company, but because they are true. Okay, we have very, very bold claims, but they are true. Because if you are having tongue tabs within your shoes, not allowing your foot to even do what it would naturally do, like I said, the entire body will be affected, and so you will be getting sore, no doubt. Period and done. Because I would get sore if I were to have tongue tabs within my shoes. Okay? Wow. I mean, to a degree. That's the reason I showed that at the very beginning, is because if you don't want to cut them out, I'm not trying to tell you you have to cut your own clothing, but having them to where if they are in there, it's only on that one lace that will slip it toward the outside. It's going to be very similar to as if you just cut it out entirely. So that is a good point to say, but that's why I showed it at the start. Okay, cool. That's what tongue tabs are doing to every single human universally, unless your foot is very, very different than most people, which is fine. We do all have our very slight differences, and some of our differences are quite different. But, right, that's what the tongue tab does to the foot. Okay, thank you.